we don't know what's gonna come through and express itself, but we think it's kind of like cool. All right? Yeah. Hey guys, welcome to Realization Hub. Why am I doing this? Huh? Why are we doing that? Right? Hey guys, welcome to Realization. My nose is the tree. Jesus. Okay. Oh man, you guys don't want to know what's happening in April. And if you enjoy these videos, please like this video and subscribe to this. Okay. We're gonna try this again. Hey guys, welcome to Realization Hub. My name is Michelle Corazao-Dinu, and I'm an intuitive counselor, energy healer, and channeler who loves to bridge the gap between the unseen world of spirit, consciousness, energy, and intuition so that it can apply to your everyday human experience. Today's video is an energy update for April 2023. What is going on? How is it April 2023? I mean, time is just zooming on by, right? So in this month's video, I'll be going over channeled energetic themes. I'll be pointing out any physical or energetic symptoms or anything to look out for, as well as any insight or wisdom that wants to come out for this month of April. So buckle up, buttercups. We're going to go for a ride and let's say hello to April. And one of the major themes of April is this continuance of this big, energetic, spiritual opening that is happening throughout the months of March, April, May, and kind of teetering off around June. The opening itself is not going to close down, so it's not something that opens and closes. It's just something that comes to an opening, and there's a lot of changes that happen because of this opening. And then there is a long adjustment period after this opening for the remaining, basically for the remaining part of the year. So what I want to say about this opening is that if you haven't watched my previous video about March, it might be a good time to do that because I did talk about kind of the experience of leading up to this opening, some of the energetic symptoms that might be occurring because of that. So the only thing I really want to say about this opening is that it will come to an intensity in the month of April. And really with this kind of opening, there will be a kind of intense, sharp rise in consciousness happening on a collective level in April. And so you may come into more states of clarity in April. You may have some type of reorientation that starts happening for you in April that leads you to some changes. You may also have this desire to just come home to yourself. Now, there's a strong call to go home, happening in April, and this can be kind of happening on many different levels or many different layers for a lot of different people. But one layer that I must talk about is people leaving the planet. There may be kind of an opportunity in April for people to take the exit door and go home, leave their bodies, die, and move on, to their next experience. So we might see the deaths kind of starting to rise in April, not because of anything wrong, not because of anything bad. It's just a natural time for people to go home, Another layer that we might see are just the reorientation. People realizing they're not where they need to be, as in they're not in the right location, they're not in the right relationship, they're not in the right job, they're not in the right group of people, and they may feel that call to go towards something that is in more resonance with them. And so people may be shuffling around, changing things up, pivoting things in their life, redirecting themselves towards something in their lives that brings about more of a resonance to them, more of an alignment with them, something that feels more like home, something that might open them more, make them feel safer, make them feel more connected, or just relaxed in general. Some other layers of this is that some people will be coming home to themselves. We actually might see a rise in spiritual awakening happening this spring or within these 3 months around April. where people are coming into a spiritual awakening, people are moving on to the next milestone of their spiritual evolution, going into more phases of embodied enlightenment, more phases of self-realization, more phases of embodied ascension, and so this kind of level of coming home, people may be experiencing more connection with themselves, more connection with their purpose, more connection with the direction in their lives, why they're here, what their next step is, what's coming, what's next for them. Okay. And this could be happening for individuals, and it's a very personal thing for individuals. So although this is happening collectively for thousands and thousands and thousands of people, everyone's going to have their own unique individual experience with this. So we can't really compare, what's going on with us with what's going on with other people, because it's a very personal experience. Now, there are two pools of people right now in April that I'm noticing that I want to reflect on here. And it has to do with this major energy happening in April, which happens to be this Easter energy. If you think about the collective and you think about mass consciousness, a lot of people in mass consciousness are very anchored into religion, and Christianity is one of the major religions across the entire planet. And so April is a big month of Easter. And so there is this energy of resurrection in the air, in April, especially the first couple weeks of April. There's a lot of focus that's brought into the story of Jesus and the crucifixion of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus. And Easter is kind of a celebration of Jesus's resurrection. Now, from more of like a mystic point of view, Jesus's resurrection is kind of like an ascension energy, where Jesus ascended from the earth, so to speak. So there is this very strong ascension energy happening, in this month of Easter. And I think it's beautiful in a way where we might have kind of religions celebrating a very old story and a very old tradition of resurrection. And while this is happening, there's just this beautiful kind of cosmic, like energetic opening that's happening, that's bringing more consciousness to the planet. Okay. And what that's going to be doing is bringing a type of resurrection to the planet. I feel like a better, more neutral word than resurrection could be a type of an ascension to the planet, where we're taking things to a new level on the planet, where everything goes new, where a lot can change and kind of update how it operates in the world. So with this kind of new influx of consciousness coming in on a global level, not only are we going to see like individuals having their own individual changes, like within themselves, like the direction they might be going, what they're doing, what their next step is, their life purpose, clarity about themselves, things that happen on a personal level. But what we might start to see in society are disruptions to old systems, that may cause old systems to dismantle and dissolve. We may see just old systems in general that are here to stay go through major updates and go kind of new and become more advanced and more intuitive and more kind of upgraded into some kind of technology. And we will also be seeing just new systems being birthed, things that kind of happen out of nowhere, that happen really fast, that are, happen suddenly, that can be disruptive, but also just brand new to the planet, that is going to help sustain the planet. So we actually may see new systems being birthed from this new opening that's happening. It's kind of like the beginning of these new systems that could really sustain the planet in new ways, maybe sustain the environment in some ways, sustain us financially in some ways, sustain us energetically, but kind of this kind of life-giving energy that can kind of continue on. And it all kind of starts right now. I'm not sure how much of it we're going to see immediately, but we will start to see a shift towards this kind of newness on the planet around this time, is where it's really going to start taking off. Okay, so with that said, another thing I want to talk about is that what's interesting with this energetic opening and this kind of strong emphasis on individualism happening on the planet, there are going to be kind of two pools of people that I would like to reflect on. And one pool of people or group of people, and the way they respond to this is that they may dive further into group energy. They may kind of anchor into and attach to religions, spiritual communities, work communities, groups in general. Okay. And groups tend to have common belief systems, common structures. The energy in a group is kind of something that everyone can match and be a part of. And it can feel more like a safe space or a home where someone might belong or fit in, or just feel safer to go through disruptions and changes with a group of people. Now, what's interesting is the people that are going into these groups, or the people that are kind of anchoring further down into these group energies, or people attaching to these group energies, these groups are going to be changing and updating too. And so these people won't be doing it alone. These people that are attaching into group energy will also be going through kind of upgrades and updates, but they will be doing it with a group versus kind of on their own independently. And that brings me to the other group of people, which are people that are kind of going on their own sovereign, independent journey right now. They are breaking away from groups. They feel the call to be more of an individual, to be more independent, to be self-led, to step outside of the box, to not be involved in groups as much, to really carve their own path, to walk their own path, to validate that their path is unique and that they can't necessarily do that in a group. Okay, so these people will also be going through the updates and the upgrades within their bodies and their, energy and their level of consciousness, but they will be doing it in more of an independent way. Now, there is not anything wrong with either pool of people. It's just these are unique experiences for everyone, and someone is going to have more of a unique experience of their individual self in a group, and some people are going to have more of a unique experience as an individual on their own. But there are people that are kind of settling themselves in either part of these pools, like either diving in further into group energy or diving in further to sovereign energy or independent kind of energy. Really, the common denominator with all this is that everything's going new right now. This is the resurrection that's kind of happening on the planet, the energy of resurrection. A lot of the past 15 or 20 years, there have been strong levels of cleansing on the planet. And we've seen this kind of play out in our culture and in natural disasters. When the consciousness starts rising on the planet, it does start to disrupt things and break things apart and, create more freedom and more chaos and more, imbalances start to rise to the surface. And many times consciousness, when there are changes in consciousness, it can really shift like the weather. The weather is very responsive to the shifts in consciousness that happen on the planet. And so many times when we've seen bigger shifts happening on a global level, it's usually followed by or surrounded by natural disasters like big storms, big floods, big fires, earthquakes, tsunamis, you name it, things like that. And so I do want to mention that because there is going to be such a strong energetic opening in the months of March, April, and May, that we may see some natural disasters surrounding these events, maybe historical natural disasters surrounding these events. And when I was tuning into what those natural disasters may be, I was really feeling natural disasters related to the earth and to the water. And so we may see things like earthquakes, tsunamis, or flooding happening around this time. But this is kind of a natural response to the changes in consciousness on the planet, and that will maybe cause some disruptions in nature. So I'm curious how that's going to turn out. But it is a strong possibility since there will be some major changes in consciousness on the planet at this time. Now let's talk about some of the energetic symptoms that may be playing out in April or in continuing months because of this energetic opening. One of the major things that's updating in humanity right now is the mind and the mental body. For ages and ages and thousands of years, there has not been much evolution at all in the human body. But we are now at this time on the planet where we are confronting some major issues on the planet. We're confronting major environmental issues, pollution issues, technology issues, issues with finances, issues with money, issues with, hunger and energy and resources and things like that. Disease, you name it. Lots of issues happening on the planet right now. All right, so we're getting to the point where when something like this happens in nature, it creates a lot of pressure for there to be some type of evolution so that the species can adapt and survive and continue. And we are kind of at that point right now on the planet where there is so much pressure coming in around the imbalances that are no longer working for us as a whole, as humanity, that there can be potentials of humanity destroying itself. And then there's that beautiful potential of humanity evolving and adapting so that it can survive and create a new world and live in a new way. And this is the potential that's kind of floating around for humanity right now. And I do believe that we are kind of starting this evolution. That is the potential that most of us are choosing, that we're not going to destroy ourselves, but we're actually going to evolve. And so we are going to see a massive spiritual awakening happening on the planet where people are waking up to something greater than their human experience. And one of the physical symptoms that we might start seeing around the globe is changes in the mind and in the mental body. Okay, the mind is a very, it's an organ that processes energy. It does a lot of other things, but I'm talking about energy here. So, your mind processes energy kind of like a digestive system, and it will take energy, process it, and it will, relate that energy to you in the form of thoughts. Okay, and then most people in their lives are attached to their minds. They believe that they are their minds and that their thoughts are them, and they let their minds navigate their life. They make choices based on their thoughts. They make actions based on their thoughts. They process things through their minds, and they generally navigate their life connected to their minds. Now, once a spiritual awakening starts, this all begins to change. Eventually you go into big changes in your mental body where you unattach from your mind, where you, perceive outside the mind, where you navigate your life from different forms of intelligence outside of your mind, like intuition or wisdom or clarity or just other kind of soul senses. So it's very natural during that spiritual evolution to kind of lose your mind and come into states of stillness and operate from a different intelligence, which is more intuitive, more creative, more powerful, more efficient, and faster. Okay, so and very accurate, and can comprehend things outside of what the mind can kind of fathom or think of or figure out. And so, I'm really feeling that in April, we are going to see the beginning of a massive evolution happening in the minds of people on the planet. A lot of mental changes happening for people. So some of these physical symptoms can be anything from mental imbalances kind of rising on the planet, people going a little bit crazy. We might see anxiety, heightening on the planet. We also might see people being kind of humorous with their minds, like forgetting what time it is, forgetting what day it is, like forgetting how to pour coffee, like, struggling to remember things, like short-term memory loss, like interesting things that, make us feel like we're maybe going a little bit senile. And that's because there will be natural changes happening in the mind, where the mind is detoxing, the mind is, creating new pathways, your relationship to your mind is changing, your perception is changing. There can be a lot of things related to this evolution of the mind. Now, if you've had a spiritual awakening or you're well beyond your spiritual awakening, you've already gone through this. Okay, but what I'm talking about is the collective. The collective is starting to go through its mental evolution, or its evolution, which includes the mind and the changes in the mind. And so, everyone is going to respond differently to this. Some people are going to respond to the changes in the mind and the kind of increase in mental imbalances and just mental disruptions, maybe feeling like you're on a mental roller coaster ride sometimes. A lot of people will respond to this in an empowering way, and you might see a rise in people going to therapy, facilitators, healers, intuitives. You might see people going to trauma therapy or recovery, people jumping into spiritual disciplines and practices to manage their energy and learn meditation. You're going to see people really diving into these healing arts to help them, orient around these changes that are happening in their mind. And we're going to see the other side of the spectrum where people are not really allowing these changes in their mind, and instead of kind of allowing it and flowing with these changes happening in their mind, they may lean more towards escapism. And so we may see more people getting into drugs and alcohol, people escaping into virtual realities, people just zoning out in front of the TV at home, people disengaging from life in general and just shutting down, suicide, things, may be overwhelming for these people to the point where it results in a type of stagnancy or, freeze, like paralysis in their lives. So we're going to be seeing some interesting things. I mean, things might get a little bit weird because people are going to be going beyond their own minds. And it's just like if you've had a spiritual awakening before and you look back on what that was, if you had your spiritual awakening 5, 10, 15, 20, 40 years ago, it was a little cringy because you would act a little bit crazy. You would act a little bit outside the box, and you weren't crazy, but compared to society, you kind of were crazy. And so we might be seeing a lot of stuff like that out in society where people are just acting strange and weird. And it's not that they're crazy, it's just that they're really starting to allow their minds to go through a change and an evolution. Now, the good news about these changes happening in the mind and the mental body for the collective is that it's ultimately going to result in a natural evolution that leads to humans being able to navigate their lives in more of an intuitive way, energetic way, from more of their knowingness, from more of their consciousness, from more of their wisdom, from more of their clarity, allowing their creative energy to kind of act as a natural intelligence for their lives that they can navigate through, versus having to think through everything and process everything and approach their lives from a very linear, kind of limited way. And so as these changes in the mental body happen in the collective, we will also be seeing energy respond to that on the planet, and changes on the planet happening in faster, more intuitive, more creative, more spontaneous, and faster kind of disruptive, chaotic ways. But ultimately, things will settle in, into its newness, and will come back into some form of balance. But my guess is that this is more of a long-term experience versus a short-term experience. So all this newness will start to birth on the planet right about now over the next, I would say, 20 years. And then there will be kind of an ongoing adaptation to the newness and an ongoing kind of adjustment to that newness. And we might see a settling down of that newness, in about 20 years. So these are some big cycles that we're starting on the planet right now, cycles that are going to bring about a lot of change and newness on the planet. It's happening because, there is a strong influence of consciousness on the planet, and it is influencing these natural cycles that are always happening. Okay, so there are natural cycles that are always happening on the planet, especially if you like astrology or into astrology, you know that there's constant cycles that are always happening. But what actually creates change on the planet is consciousness and energy responding to that consciousness. And so with the influence of these natural cycles and the influence of consciousness, we are going to see kind of a very updated experience happening on the planet, an upgrade happening on the planet, and kind of like an ascension that's happening on the planet. Now, some wisdom I have for April is to take a deep breath in if you go through states of anxiety or overwhelm, to practice breathing. A lot of time when the energy gets very activated in your head and you're thinking and thinking and thinking and you're processing and you're trying to figure things out, that's a really good time to do some form of breathing or body related activities. So if that means getting out there and going for a walk, exercising, dancing, stretching, moving your body, these are all great ways to kind of get out of your head and back into your body a little bit more. And so I do recommend doing something like that. But one of my favorite things I like to do is laugh. Laugh at everything, bring some amusement to everything, lighten it up a bit, because it's kind of funny to be kind of going through these times where you might be feeling a little bit crazy, other people might be feeling a little bit crazy, what's happening out there is a little bit crazy. And so it can be really nice to just pretend like you got your bowl of popcorn out and you're just watching the show and you're just laughing at everything instead of taking it so seriously, okay? Because whether you take it seriously or not, it's going to keep happening. Changes are going to keep happening. Changes might be disruptive. Changes might happen chaotically. Changes might come out of nowhere. And they can be good changes. But change is still going to be very triggering for your human self, okay? Because the human part of us is like an animal. It hates change. I mean, humans are like hobbits. They like food, they like sex, they like sleeping, they like their comfort, and they don't really like change, okay? So really, even if there's going to be good change that happens on the planet, which eventually all of this is going to be updated change and new change, and it's going to be more advanced change, okay? So there will be a lot of benefit to this change. It's still going to be kind of triggering for a lot of people. So this is a good time to practice laughing at all of it, not taking it so seriously, lighten up about it, okay? When you take things very seriously, you're much more likely to get stuck. You're much likely going to be drawn into the gravity of mass consciousness and whatever fears or resistance that they may be processing. When you lighten things up, you're more likely to shift your energies much faster and adapt and change in ways that provide you more grace and ease. So practice laughing at it. And remember that these changes are natural. They're natural. You as a human do not have to control them. They're kind of out of your control. Really, the best thing you can do is support yourself the best way you can, you know. So if you need therapy, go to therapy. If you need to talk to an energy healer, go to an energy healer. If you need help developing your intuition, develop your intuition. You know, if you need a spiritual practice and you need to learn how to meditate, do that. Okay. If you are sensitive to energy and you have not learned to manage your energy at this point, you need to learn how to manage your energy. Okay. You are a sensitive person. This society is not set up to support you. You absolutely have to advocate for yourself, and managing your energy is probably number one on the list of living a functional life as a sensitive person. If you need help learning how to manage your energy, please get in contact with me. I can help you with that. So in general, you know, April is a part of this beautiful time this year, in March, April, and May, where we are having this energetic opening occurring, and there is more consciousness rising on the planet, and more people will be connecting more with that spiritual world, the energetic world, and bringing more of their personal kind of soul information into their bodies, into their lives, and really grounding things that they haven't been able to ground before into their lives, and embody things they haven't been able to embody before in their lives. There may be a rise in some mental imbalances, and that's because humanity is starting to evolve. And so you can allow that if that's happening to you, or you can resist that. If you allow it, you can go seek out people who've been there, done that before, who can help you find healthy ways of managing your energy and healing through this and finding balance through this. And if you resist it, just look out for those red flags. If you start getting into escapism, you start getting into drugs and alcohol, and you start escaping into television or virtual realities, or just disconnecting from everyone completely, no connection at all, that might be some yellow or red flags that you are not coping well with this. And you can always make that conscious choice to be here, to stay here, and to find ways to live here in a way that works for you. Generally, we have a strong renewal energy happening in April, a strong kind of resurrection energy happening in April. And the way I like to say it is just a big update, an advancement, an ascension kind of quality to yourself as an individual and to everyone in the collective, and even the systems that exist in society. These kind of intense rises of consciousness on the planet do bring about a lot of clarity, and energy generally can respond to that very quickly at this point. And so we may see some weather patterns or natural disasters, historic natural disasters happening around this time. My guess is something to do with earthquakes, water, tsunamis, floods, something along those lines. My biggest wisdom that I have for you in April is to stay connected to yourself and what feels like home to you. There is a strong call to go home. Your home is within yourself. It is that eternal part of you that just exists. It is always there inside of you. And when things get crazy, when things feel intense or overwhelming, this is your home. And also just be aware of what may resonate with you as home in your life. There might be relationships, careers, groups of people that resonate with you as home, in which these people, these relationships, these jobs, these groups, when you resonate with them, they are going to be supportive in you coming home to yourself. Okay? Whereas if you're feeling like you are in relationships, jobs, or communities that do not resonate with you, then this may be a pivotal time in the year where you might reorient towards something that feels more aligned or in resonance with you at this time. All right, that is the energy update for April 2023. It's going to be another big month, so I hope it's graceful for you. I am offering some group sessions in April. If you need support, you're more than welcome to sign up for those down there. I also offer free consultations if you're interested in working with me one-on-one. And of course, if you want a one-on session, I do offer intuitive readings, energy healings, and intuitive counseling to whatever you may be navigating in your personal experience. I'm here to help you have more clarity, balance, and empowerment through all of that. So I hope you do well this month, and I will see you next month. Take care. Bye.